So essentially a 1A of incitement or encouraging or whatever is, it's like saying, go and burn down that pub next door, and it's someone actually going and doing it and people dying. That's 1A. Even if I was guilty, which I'm not, if I was guilty, I would still plead not guilty, because I don't have any faith whatsoever in the organs of the British state, and I don't think I'm alone in those feelings. I think I'm public enemy number one now. I think I've just managed to sort of I'm up there with Tommy, and it's like, for what? Welcome to another episode of Fox and Father, with me, the Fox, and him, the
Father.
It's so remote now.
I know.
You're so far away. We used to sit in an office with envelopes and hand it over to each other, and cigars, man.
Yeah, and whiskey sometimes.
Whiskey was not good for me during Fox and Fathers. No. Now I have like fluoride tablets, and not fluoride, that's exactly the opposite of what I had. Got some sort of vitamin concoction there. Anyway, it's a show, obviously, for those that haven't seen it, where Calvin tutors me in the ways of righteousness. But more often recently, I've had to tutor him in the ways of righteousness. But now we're both tutoring each other in the ways of righteousness.
There's enough righteousness to go around.
And there doesn't seem to be any righteousness left. Anyway, I haven't spoken to you for a couple of weeks. Well, I've spoken to you, but I haven't publicly spoken to you. So how is public Calvin? What's the news?
I don't even know anymore. I find it impossible to keep up with my own life now. What was on the last one? Had I just been cancelled? Or was it before I got cancelled the first? I can't even remember.
It was before. You were quite happy because you'd been uncancelled, but then you got recancelled.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cancellations are constant, and it's just ridiculous at this point. I don't even have to do anything. I don't even have to breathe anymore. Just existing is enough these days.
I was reading it. I was getting, sorry to interrupt you,
please.
But I was reading a and I was looking at you for some reason, and then I tried to find you, and then something appeared, and some man wrote a really horrible article you called Alan Rusbridger or Bridger.
Oh, I remember that name. He was a former Guardian guy. He writes about me every now and then.
Yeah, he was. It was really mean, and I thought, oh, good. That means that Calvin's doing something right.
I haven't read that one, but he's a hateful person. These people on the left are often hateful and projecting their hatred onto other people. It's very strange.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
Well, go on.
Straight off the bat,
right.
And then we'll go back to how we're doing. Is Free Palestine the new Heil Hitler?
Is it what? Sorry,
is it the new Heil Hitler?
No, it's not.
Why not? Demands dogged and completely unquestioning devotion to the term.
You get that on both sides. The whole
promotes violence.
Yeah.
It discriminates. Doesn't like Jews.
Mm.
The list does go on a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, one to mull for the thing.
One to think through.
So talk to me. How are you? What's going on in your life?
I'm good. So I had the original cancellation in January. We got over 3 months later, the church voted to leave the Anglican Catholic Church, which is the jurisdiction that they were in. The day after that, I left as well to be with my parish, and they received temporary episcopal oversight, pastoral care from a bishop, and I sought the oversight from the same bishop the day later, and all good. I'm like, okay, great. So we can carry on with business. Well, we're still discerning and praying through where we're going to end up in the long term, looking for a permanent home. But we had a temporary solution for a year. Great. And it happened to be with a bishop that I genuinely admire as a strong, orthodox, faithful bishop. I can count on one hand the number of people I would say that about. He's one of them. So I was very pleased. I thought this is great because it's someone that I can trust, someone who's going to hold me accountable, but in a friendly, paternal way. This is good start of a good working relationship. A week later, the Archbishop, so not the bishop we were under, but the bishop who he works with, or who he's kind of technically under, but not really, released a statement mirroring exactly what Archbishop Haviland had said. Oh, this guy's an anti-Semite and this, that, and the other, like libelous slander, smear stuff. To what end? Well, I think probably to appease the liberal mob within his jurisdiction, which is a different jurisdiction than the one I was under, but they're like a sister and brother jurisdiction. Anyway, he released this thing to say, look, we think it's a mistake that this bishop has taken on Calvin Robinson. We don't like him. He doesn't even know what Anglicanism is. And this is from a man that, is unvested, unliturgical, unformed in Anglicanism, has the gall to accuse me, a literal Anglo from the Angles, trained in the best Anglican seminary in the country where Anglicanism comes from, not a colony. Anyway, I do understand Anglicanism. I'm just an Anglo-Catholic and not a low church, snake belly, evangelical, happy-clappy, non-vestment wearing Pentecostal Baptist. So I apologize.
These are just words that I don't understand.
Well, he will understand them because it just infuriates me that was an attack line. That was an absurd attack line. He's clearly never been to England and been to an Anglican church. Anyway, he put up this statement which completely undermines the bishop that I was under, which you just don't do as a bishop, because each bishop has their own authority from the apostles. This is what apostolic succession is all about. So it was canonically irregular, if not illicit, for him to make this statement. It embarrassed and undermined the bishop that I was under. Anyway, the bishop the next day called me and said, it's nothing to do with that statement. However, I'm going to have to rescind the invitation to provide you with a temporary license. He had his own reasons, and I still fully respect him. I think he's a good man, but he was under a lot of pressure from different places and different people. And so we ended up without a license again, which that just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, okay, if the one person I trust in the whole of Anglicanism can't help, then maybe he goes closing doors for a reason, right? And so then we all came back together, and what we've worked out is that we're going to continue looking for a permanent home. But any temporary measures are not going to be announced publicly, so that the nasty, vitriolic, woke, liberal, progressive mob don't attack whatever temporary solution we find viable.
They're kind of glued to you, aren't they? There's always someone who will just be going through everything. They're constantly Googling your name, trying to find out
there's
whatever's
one woman
going on.
in particular, Wasson, this canon lawyer for the ACC. Like every day, if people look at her Twitter, it's like, bum, 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 bum. It's me. It's just all me. And this is a married woman. I find it quite concerning. Like, it's really creepy, really obsessive. But well,
you are, but you've upset them for, as far as I can tell, with my deep theological knowledge, as you know, you've pissed them off for two reasons. One, you don't believe in women priests, which I'm sort of on the fence about. But if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say, no women priests. But I don't. It doesn't bother me too much. And the other one is, I really agree with you on, is this idea of what Judeo-Christian values or Judeo-Christian heritage or Judeo-Christian anything is, because it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm sort of with you on that one, but you're obviously far too Christian to be a priest. So, we need to turn you into a mafia boss or something like that. I've said repeatedly on this show that you need to have revolvers, you need to have swords, and, with those, you can go and convert some Mohammedans.
Bring on the Crusades. They were justified, and the first Crusades were absolutely...
We would have had a laugh in the Crusades, wouldn't we? We would have been heroes. It'd be like, oh, don't worry, lads. Don't worry, lads. Laurence and Calvin here. I'll sort of rock up with a sort of goat skin flagon of whatever going,
yeah,
we're going to kill Saladin and avoid the scimitars at all costs. At all costs, avoid the scimitars and watch out for the chaps lying down in the ground who are going to try and debowel your horses. But let's go and take Jerusalem back. Come on, chaps, have another flagon of this.
No, I think you'd be a Jamie Lannister character.
No, who's he?
Have you not watched Game of Thrones?
No, man. Why would I watch Game of Thrones?
That's good TV.
I don't watch. Okay. Well, our friendship is over.
What?
And
that's when they used to make TV shows properly. That was a drama. I mean, there's probably a little bit too much sex and violence, but generally speaking, it's good television.
Well, maybe I'll watch it one day when I'm close to suicide. Maybe I'll watch it in prison.
Why do you hate it so much?
I usually hate things that everyone else likes.
That was like 10 years ago.
I know. But it was like Lost. Everyone went on about
I loved Lost as well. I think.
Yeah, of course.
I loved.
Of course you did. I've never watched either, so it doesn't really matter.
Lost and Game of Thrones were two of the best TV shows with the worst endings. They really.
Of course, that's what I mean. It's like and I've done these TV shows for I did one of these for Netflix, and they just run out of ideas. So they just go, what happens? And it's like, we don't really know.
You can almost watch it without watching the ending. The endings were that bad. But you know what I loved about those? I'm with you. And when everything's overhyped, don't jump on the bandwagon. But at the same time, that was a period in time when TV was universal. Like everyone was watching the same program every week, and everyone was kind of talking about it with each other. We don't really have that anymore in the world of streaming, because it's like everyone watches their own things, and it's not like a community thing anymore.
We do. We do. But speaking of bandwagons, you haven't even asked me how I am.
I'm still talking about me. Calm down.
God, you're so.
I got to the point where it's
self-centered.
I'm over it. I'm not becoming jaded, but I'm appreciating how blessed I am and just carrying on with the job. We're here. We're at St. Paul's Church of Grand Rapids, 10 a.m. every Sunday. Please come and join us. Laurence, how are you?
They haven't kicked you out yet.
No, we're all good. We're all good.
They can't kick you out. That's so good. I'm so pleased. I mean, these things start to become so, you imagine that something that would have been pretty devastating years ago is now just normal. It's like, oh, right, when? How long? Oh, okay.
And you know what? The handful of priests that I trust, that I know are doing good work and are godly men, they're all going through some kind of cancellation. They're all going through some kind of hardship. They're all being challenged in a way. Like the Lord is permitting some sanctification process for some battle that's coming. I truly believe.
I know you sent me a verse this morning, didn't you? Or in the middle of the night. I always have to remind myself that you live overseas, because when I get a message at 1:07 in the morning, I'm like, oh God, what's happening?
I know that if I send you anything after 7 p.m., you'll get it the next day, so it's all good.
So tell me which book this is from. Good people pass away. The godly often die before their time, but no one seems to care or wonder why. No one seems to understand that God is protecting them from the evil to come. For those who follow godly paths will rest in peace when they die.
That is Isaiah. I sent that to you because I know yesterday was your mother's birthday.
Yeah.
Maybe reflecting on that.
She was awesome, my mum. Honestly, she was so awesome. She simplified life in such a way. And she was there. We grew up in a matriarchal family. And it just, the thought of what my mum would make of 2025 Britain, it's not worth bearing. I don't think she would be able to muster words. Mm. She used to sort of roll her eyes at, anything even vaguely, pathetically liberal. But now she'd just be, when I say liberal, I mean the American version of liberal rather than the British version of liberal. But
it's all bad.
Yeah, it's all bad. She's, God rest her soul, she was a fine, fine woman. And whether you like any of us children or not, she made a lot of us, and we're all very different, and we're all very passionate in what we believe. And, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So God rest you, Mum. I miss you. How am I? You've
had a hell of it.
Yeah. I really have. What I'm doing is I'm trying to compartmentalize my thinking to say, don't think about things that you have no control over on this day. Mm. You're actually, in a funny way, the attack is emboldening me, because it means that I have to be disciplined in my head to go, right, okay, now you're training. So I used to hate training. For example, I used to go, oh, I've got to do it. So now I'm I've got to do it. And it's going to drive me mad, but I'll do it. And now I see it as an absolute blessing. So I look forward to it. I look forward to the pain of it. I look forward to I look forward to it because it just makes me go, oh, there's an hour off of worrying about stuff. It's that I don't really feel, I feel pretty sad for Lizzie in these situations, because I think it's not fair. Not that it's not fair, but it's difficult for her to try and, she's always trying to be optimistic and hopeful, because she is an optimistic and hopeful person, which is what's wonderful about her. And I am someone who has a black dog but it doesn't last very long. So I was not in a very happy place last week. And
which is why it's great. It's perfect that you've got Lizzie in your life.
Yeah, she's beyond amazing. There are no words to describe how wonderful she is. But so I was meant to be in court yesterday for what they call a PTPH pretrial trial
preliminary hearing.
Preliminary hearing. And then they moved that, and I'm very suspicious of the establishment and the and all that. And I'm like, why are you moving that? So are they trying to move that one behind whatever her face is, so that they can, attack you? They can sort of spit roast you with lies. Sorry, audience, but I just thought to myself, I had a bit of it got pretty low. And then last night I went down to see my son, and I had a really nice time with him. And I thought, I'm not going to tell him any of my woes or worries, because that's not what you do to a young child. Well, he's not a young child, he's becoming a man, but he doesn't need that on his plate. And actually that then became a joy and a pleasure as well, because I was released from the stress of worrying about things in the future. So I've just had a lot of lawyers. I've spoken to a lot of lawyers.
Every time I message you, you're on the phone to a lawyer.
Yeah, I spend probably, but bearing in mind coming off the back of that libel trial as well, of which there is an appeal in July, I think. It's just unending, and law is strange. So the woman who is representing me in one of the cases is her junior, who's working with her on a current case that she's working on, is going to be prosecuting me. So the taxpayer are paying for some quite serious people to come after me in Crown Court trials. And I do wonder to myself, how much is this actually costing the taxpayer? So I thought that when I paid taxes, it would go into things like, getting some good National Health Service care, fat chance, or something like that. But actually, my taxes seem to be going into paying for the state to try me for various crimes that they can come up with for speech. And I think Andrew Doyle covered it rather brilliantly in one sentence, which is no one should go to prison for a tweet. And I see today that Piers Morgan now, that cowardly little prick, has decided to jump on the Lucy Connolly bandwagon. So Piers Morgan to me is like the media version of Nigel Farage. They wait for everyone else to do the legwork, and then they come in and take the credit, and he's now having, done his full range of cancellation at the original time. He's now come out and said, oh, this is appalling, we can't have this. And I just think, why do I value integrity so much that I think that you should be consistent, intellectually and emotionally consistent in all of your views? Because, you should allow them to be changed. But it was so obvious that Piers Morgan was going to go, here's a bandwagon I can jump on.
Oh, good. I mean, it needs the attention. But obviously you, Alison Pearson, Dan Wootton, you guys have been on this Lucy Connolly thing all along. What is the case here? What did she do wrong? What did she tweet?
She tweeted, and you know what? What's worse is the more I read your tweet, the less I find it to the nearest police station and ambulance.
I hate two Lawrences.
Yeah, sorry, that's I think that's I pressed the wrong thing. That might be a WTF. Okay. So this is what she tweeted. Mass deportations now, set fire to all the fucking hotels full of the bastards for all I care. Whilst you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it. The more, obviously it's not a very good tweet.
There's nothing racist about being anti-immigrant. The problem there is clear that she said, oh, burn them all down for all I care. For all I care. That's not saying, go at 3:00 to that hotel there specifically and burn it down. That's saying, oh, burn them all down for all I care. That's an offhanded, passionate remark.
Well, yeah, and it's obviously comes in a period of deep emotional thing, but it's like, it's like turning around and saying, you're dead to me, to a friend.
Right.
It's like, you don't literally mean you're dead to me. It's like, you're dead to me, whatever, or you die for all I care. it's like these are very common, and you use the word liturgical, which I think has something to do with words, seeing as it's got lit at the beginning of it. These are very common and deeply entrenched aspects and devices within the English language. So it's a get out clause to say, for all I care. She's saying, do all of this in an imaginary world.
Well, it's saying if you did all of this, I wouldn't be affected by it. So it's not a command or order.
And that's not a crime.
No, it's not a crime.
Yet in Britain, to celebrate a crime is not a crime.
Charlie Kirk was in the UK this week, and he's been commenting on how oppressive it feels. But one of the things he said is that the criteria, so we have obviously free speech in America, but the criteria for that to be incitement would be a time and a place. She's not inciting any violence. It's violent speech. Yes, it's quite aggressive, passionate speech, but it's not inciting any violence. And therefore, how long will she be locked away for this?
She got 30 months.
30 months.
She's going to...
So I think that's 31. So she'll do half of that, won't she? But still, that's too many months for a tweet.
Yeah, but bearing in mind that the National Health Service killed her daughter, her son, Harry, her first child, the National Health Service killed. And she took her son in, was very, very worried, and they kept getting sent back, And the problem is with these, I'm starting to realize about the statists, the ever expanding state, is that it's providing work for non-jobbers, for morons, essentially, for people who don't have the intellectual capacity or the talent to succeed in any other aspect of life. So they go and work for the state. And, she was advised by her barrister who was given to her, she was advised to accept the guilty plea of a 1A charge. Now, that's what the Crown are trying to do to me. They're trying to do a 1A on me. So essentially a 1A of incitement or encouraging or whatever is, it's like saying, go and burn down that pub next door, and it's someone actually going and doing it and people dying. That's 1A. And they took the plea, and so it's
just that plea bargaining is a problem in the UK judicial system, because they'll say they're going to throw the book at you, you get 30 years, and this, that. Unless you plead guilty, then you get a couple of months and you're out. So people who aren't guilty plead guilty because they don't want to go to jail for the rest of their lives. And so,
well, I can't plead guilty to anything.
Good.
Because I can't plead guilty to anything, because also
I agree with you, but a lot of people do, unfortunately. And then everyone's like, well, they pleaded guilty, so they clearly, it doesn't work like that. It's not as black and white as that.
The major irony of all of this is that these people that sit there, the Free Palestine mob, who sit and talk about a kinder, more empathetic society, are savages. They're savages. We saw it happen in DC yesterday with a young couple who had their whole lives ahead of them. By all accounts, I know that the media does write these things about how people are, but by all accounts, just the loveliest young couple, and they were just gunned down by this guy, and all he had to offer was free Palestine. And I go, the very nature. This is why I asked about is it the new Heil Hitler? At the very core of the free Palestine thing, and the from the river to the sea, all of that is genocidal chanting. That's what it is. It's like Ricky J. Jones, that guy who goes, we need to, do that to all of the so-called far right in front of yet another Free Palestine mob. He was trying to rouse a mob to commit violence, and he's going to get nothing. His charge compared to mine, Lucy's, anyone else's, they'll all be coming away. It is very, very gentle. And it makes me think, therefore, even if I was guilty, which I'm not, if I was guilty, I would still plead not guilty, because I don't have any faith whatsoever in the organs of the British state. And I don't think I'm alone in those feelings. Well, so once you lose faith in your foundational institutions, the police, the health service. Yeah. I mean, I've never had faith in the health service, to be fair, but the police and the judiciary, what are you? You are the thing that they didn't want to create, which was a man with nothing left to lose. Yeah. And that's kind of what they've done to me, and they've done to you in a different way. So Theon always says to me, "Oh, you bring it upon yourself. Don't complain about it." I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying that's how I see the world. And
also,
actually,
I think that's a cowardly remark. I don't like the remark, because you don't bring it on yourself by trying to live a just life, trying to be honest, open, and live in integrity. If the rest of the world or much of society isn't living that way, you shouldn't just stop living that way because it's easier. I think it's absolutely right to do what you're doing. And it's not a case of you're bringing in all yourself. It's the case of the judicial system and the establishment is clearly against truth speakers, and you are one of them.
Yeah, I think I'm public enemy number one now. I think I've just managed to sort of, I'm up there with Tommy, and it's like, for what? And what it's done is it's changed my attitudes to free speech completely. So I now no longer think there should be a single boundary to free speech that goes up to the American standard, as you say, time and a place. So I think all of that stuff should be gone, because the problem with free speech, putting in any restrictions on free speech, is you're thin ending the wedge in it. That's what you're doing. So you're making it the minute you put one restriction on it, you can use that restriction to put all restrictions on it. So I've now become a free speech absolutist.
Wow.
I wouldn't say I've become any more radical in my views, but I've always been radical in my view about the fact that we should have free expression. So, in the terms of all of this stuff, I just go, bring it.
Well, let's look at what's happened with Tommy in this last week as well. Obviously, it was announced that he was finally getting out of prison. Great. It's in the UK, if you serve half of the time that you're given, usually you get let out of prison because the prisons are full, and that's just how the system works now. And so he's reaching the halfway point, so he'll be out soon. The next day after the announcement that he's getting out, the Crown Prosecution Service releases a statement saying they are going to charge him for harassment. It's like, yeah, he might be getting off of that, but we're going to find something else to get you with. And it's just, the people that he's accused of harassing is two paparazzis who tracked him down on a family holiday abroad and doxed his children, for goodness sake. It's just insane the levels they'll go to persecute people that are, political opponents. And this is what it is. It's political persecution. Yeah, of course, they're still waiting. Next year, he's still got another trial as well for the other thing.
Yeah. These people, I tell you what, my patience runs very, very thin with them.
And that thing was, in case people aren't aware, the police tried to force him to give up his PIN code for his phone. And he said no. And I think quite right. You shouldn't be forced to incriminate yourself. You wouldn't have to in this country. But in the UK, they said, if you don't, we'll use the Terrorism Act against you. And they use the Terrorism Act against him because they get more leeway that way. They get to do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do. Now, no one's ever accused Tommy of being a terrorist. He wasn't under arrest for being a terrorist. He's clearly not a terrorist. So to use the Terrorism Act against him is an abuse of power. But that's something that they don't care.
Well, they're doing the same with me with the Narinder Kaur thing. So, that's they're using a one set of crimes to try and make me guilty of another set of crimes. Yeah. And I'm just like, bring it, because because all you're going to do is make more and more people martyrs. And the loose colony thing has really woken up a large proportion of the public, have woken up to how loathed and despised Starmer is. I've been pretty, I was thinking about this the other day, I've been pretty disdainful of every single prime minister since COVID and during COVID, because I think that every one of them lied to us relentlessly. But for Starmer to sit there and talk about, we have a really important, we really cherish free speech. And
it's the lies, isn't it?
You are a liar, man. You are lying.
I think it was the late Patrick O'Flynn that said it, or someone recently said it about this situation, whether it was about Lucy or Tommy. It's the case of people in the public eye are very careful with what they say because they know where the line is. So like people like, Dan Morton or Julia Hartley-Brewer, people who are like mainstream journalists on our side, so to speak, of the debate, they're very careful in what they say. And they know they don't want to breach contempt of court laws, and they don't want to perjure themselves. They don't want to get themselves in trouble over X, Y, or Z. So they're very, but ordinary common folk don't know where that line is. And so normal people will just say what they think. And that's what's going to get normal people in trouble. Because the system is set up, it's rigged against you. And unless you play the game, you're going to get arrested. And that's why you and I get in trouble, because we don't always play the game. We just say what we think. We try to be open and honest and transparent. And that's why Lucy Connolly got in trouble, because she was just an ordinary woman who said what she thought. She was impassioned by 3 British girls being murdered by an invading force that's being brought in by our own government, for goodness sake. Of course she was angry. Who wouldn't be? But they don't.
Well, she's also being used. She's your sister, your cousin, your brother's wife, your best female friend, your daughter, your aunt. That's what she is. They're going, we are going to get you. So and I've said this before, it's in the same way as in Sadiq Khan's muddled, nasty little dictatorial controlling head, he would love to ban cars from everywhere. I mean, I drove down to London the other day and they put in a new thing in Camden as an experiment to see whether, they can put people off getting in their cars for life. But the point is, it would be authoritarian to ban cars. So what they do is they make it impossible for you to drive one.
Yeah.
They, which is my objection to ULEZ in a lot of ways. It's just another fake tax built on bullshit science. And therefore they make it possible for you to get in your car, drive, and it to be financially viable. And it's the same with speech. So what they do is they go, no, you've got free speech, but if you say anything that we don't like, we're going to put you in prison for it. And it's, I don't see how much longer. Charlie Kirk, I think, really picked up the atmosphere of the country.
Yeah.
I don't see how much longer this can go on without people going, you know what? There are only a few hills I'm going to die on, because either, and free speech is a hill I will die on, because it's either you force me to live in a prison in my own head, or you force me to live in a prison of your making.
Mm.
And I keep the liberty in my own mind. And actually I would rather keep the liberty in my own mind and be locked up than I would give up the liberty of my mind and live in the prison created for me by these people. But my hatred, and I hope it is seen as hate speech. I don't hate Keir Starmer, but what Keir Starmer represents and what Sadiq Khan represents and what Ursula von der Leyen represents and what all of the globalists represent, I hate it. And I can see how terribly damaging it is going to be to the next generation. I mean, think how bad it is with this one. I think you've got to die on that hill. And if that involves them trying to destroy me, then fucking bring it. That's what I say.
And they'll continue until they get what they want. And same with you, the same with Tommy. They're going to continue using every weapon in their arsenal until they get a desired effect, which is either silencing you, cancelling you, or killing you, essentially.
That's what they want to do. That's my absolute strongly held conviction and belief, that what they want to do is they want to convict me. They want to stick me in a prison full of Mohammedans, and they want a prison guard to not be there, to just be changing shift at just the wrong time, so I get a shank in my eye or whatever. And it's like, it's like Kim Jong-un and that American prisoner who did whatever he did wrong, and they were like, they released, he was fine 1 minute, and the next day they released him back to his family as a vegetable in a coma, and he died 6 days later. That's what Britain has become, and that is my view of what they are trying to do to me.
And Charlie Kirk said it is palpable. You can see there's the oppression, the feeling of oppression everywhere, and you've got the pincer movement between Islam and Marxism. And it's everywhere. And I absolutely agree. It's so sad. I love my country, but it's falling rapidly. By the way, I got my Union Jack up in the corner there. Don't know if you noticed. I finally I unpacked all my stuff. Well, not all my stuff, but I'm getting there. So the American flag's gone. I've got my Union flag there now.
Good. Well, I think that it's best not to, I don't want to dwell on these problems, but I think I take encouragement from what you say, which is like, someone's got to do it, because, either if no one does it and everyone just goes, well, I don't see it. No, then the country dies quicker. So if I just
really hate that you bring it on yourself. It's like, it's what's the word when you blame a victim for something? It's like, if you live in an abusive relationship with your state, which is what you do, to not bring it on yourselves means you're not being true. You're not being people. Like you must just keep your head down and do what they tell you to do. Otherwise, you bring it on yourself. No, you're not bringing it on yourself.
No. Well, I mean, to an extent you do. I can be wiser in a lot of things I do, but I don't care.
You shouldn't have to be. You're a free man.
Yeah, except, well, I was a free man. We were all free men until Tony Blair turned up.
This is the thing that really gets me. Is people are always like, oh, he's a bit edgy. He's a bit. Yeah, so what? So what? Is it not okay to be a bit edgy anymore? Are you not allowed to say whatever you think? Are you not allowed to sit there on your own station and say, who'd want to shag that? Why? Why not? It's a bit uncouth. So what?
I know, but that's when I go, you lot running your TV channel, whatever. I mean, I can't remember the last time I engaged. I did watch the Charlie Kirk interview on GB News, so that was good. But other than that, it doesn't even cross my. I had no idea who is on it. I don't know anything about GB News anymore. I muted it on my feed, so they don't advertise it or anything. So I don't get it. But yeah, I have no interest. Especially, I don't have any interest in those purporting to be on our side of the argument.
No,
who are not on our side of the argument. They're establishment shills. I just don't have any interest in them. So I don't waste my time with them. But while we're here, I need to talk to you.
Oh,
so and then we'll go on to some questions, or we'll talk about something else you want to talk about. You know, all the rainbow lanyards.
Yeah.
And now that they've decided that a judge has decided that what a woman is. So we hired a judge to let us know what a woman is, even though
Supreme Court had to tell us what we've known.
Yeah. Even though it's
2,000 years, whatever. Yeah.
But all of those little rainbow lanyards in the NHS. Well, I like this now.
Okay.
We got this. We got little Union Jack lanyards, so you can attach your thing to that. So you go to the culture stores and get that.
Okay.
And then if you're even more edgy, you can have an I love free speech one.
Oh.
And go like that. So I've stuck that on the culture stores. I'm about to stick a cap on the culture store saying unity is our greatest strength with diversity crossed out.
Oh, I saw that cap. You were wearing it the other day, weren't you?
Yeah, I was wearing it. And it sparks sort of conversations. People come up to you and go, that's a nice cap. Where'd you get that? I had loads yesterday of people going, I want one of them. Where can I get one? So soon to be able to be got on the culture stores. Shall we do some questions, Calvo?
Yeah, why not? We've had loads.
Okay. Did we? Did you send me the...
So Eric Wood was the first one, and he's a very good man. I've met him a few times down in Huntsville, Alabama, which is a very sound place full of sound people. He said, is reform worth supporting if they can actually be a party of government? Looks like they can, no?
What do you think?
It looks like they can be a party of government, but I wouldn't support them just because they can be a party of government. I think if they're going to be a party of government and just be like the Conservatives of 10 years ago, I'm not that interested, to be honest. I don't think they're going to save my country. They're not going to get my vote.
They were, yeah. I mean, I think that it's looking more and more likely that the Unity Party has just been rejected. So that reform is interesting. The Lib Dems are the ones I'm keeping an eye on as well, because they are soaring. That watching the Tory die is half sad and half delightful for me. But there is the thing with the thing that I'm pleased about what reform will do, whilst thinking all the things we've always spoken about reform, is that they are going to begin to expose and go to war with the entrenched deep state in this country.
Oh, really?
Because the deep state will not want a reform government. They will do everything they can to. So if there are any skeletons left in Nigel Farage's cupboard that the deep state want to get out, they will, and they will go after absolutely everyone. And I think that's why Nigel culls people quite often, and he goes, I just have to be white and white, which is kind of not the point of what reform is. But it's an expression of the great dissatisfaction in this country with our political representatives. I was listening to David Starkey. A really lovely interview with David Starkey, who I think is a fabulous human. And he said, prior to the Second World War, Second World War, in between First, Second World War, right up until then, you didn't have any encounters with the state. The state's job was to stay out of your way. And then after Second World War, with the foundation of the NHS, and then moving into Blair and the Supreme Court and his all of the European laws and all this sort of stuff, we now can't go anywhere without encountering the state. Hence, we had to have a judge tell us what a woman is. So I think reform, whatever happens, reform will end up creating a situation whereby the deep state start to show themselves for what they are, and that will create a conflict which is much needed in this country. And even Starkey was saying that he's not confident it'll be peaceful. So on that level, yeah, I suppose Eric is Reform worth supporting. I mean, yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'm not engaged with them, and I don't really believe that they understand the fundamentals of what the problems are with the country. But seeing as that's where all the votes seem to be, then go for it. I think they probably can be a party of government. Okay.
I'm skipping the next one because it's about Islam. Any book recommendations?
Lizzie's reading Erotic Vagrants, which was how the Pope described Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Or it's either Erotic Vagrants or Erotic Vagrancy. I think it's Erotic Vagrants. And she says it's just wonderful. Everyone I've met who's reading books says it's absolutely fabulous. I just bought the two Paul Britton books, The Jigsaw Man and something else. And Paul Britton, because I watched on Netflix the Ripper series about the Yorkshire Ripper and how unbelievably incompetent the police were. And Paul Britton, who was he was kind of destroyed because he tried to sort of set up Colin Stagg for the Rachel McKell murder on Wimbledon Common when my mum was walking dog less than 100 meters away from where she was murdered. So he was sort of set up. So I'm reading that. I think it's called The Jigsaw Man and Picking Up the Pieces, Paul Britton, Britton. So that's what I'm doing. What about you?
I just read The Sparrow. I'm currently reading book 2, Children of God, by Mary Doria Russell. This is like a Catholic science fiction. It's like, what if the Jesuits were the first to get to Mars and meet a new alien race? How would we interact on a Christian level? And it's kind of a tragedy, actually, but it's a decent read.
Would it make a good film?
Yes, it would.
Oh, good. Okay, I might read that, The Sparrow.
How is the crowdfunder going from Siobhan? We're about to approach, I think, $50,000, and I'm very thankful for every single person who's donated, and actually everyone who's praying as well. It's been marvelous that people have been very supportive. So thank you all of you for that. Eventually, I'm going to be able to put down a deposit for a house and have some security, which will be a lovely thing.
Yeah, that is good. And obviously, the Lucy Connolly crowdfunders up at about 130 odd grand, or 130 middle fingers to Keir Starmer.
So who's supporting her? Who's her lawyer?
Her lawyer, her barrister was the same barrister who's going to represent the O'Neill. There's a guy called Adam King, KC. So it was, and her lawyer is actually my lawyer as well.
Okay.
Itos. So yeah, I have a few annoyances about not them, but about the structure and processes of that. But
yeah,
let's not go into it.
What is from Steve Harris? What's happening with the Reclaim Party?
The Reclaim Party is, there's no point in doing the Reclaim Party while the Reform is going. There's just, it still exists. We keep it we keep it ready should it be needed, because it might well be needed. If you look at how much worse things are in 2025 than they were in 2020. So it might well be needed, but there's no point. I'm not ambitious enough or competitive enough or avaricious enough to go, right, I'm going to go and stand against a Reform candidate. It's like, go guys, you have the wind in your sails, go. So we keep it there. And, I have a feeling it's a very valuable thing to have a political party registered with the Electoral Commission, which they can't take away from you. And because it will be, I'm sure it'll be needed. I don't think Reform are going to be anything other than the beginning of the of what comes in reaction to the utter betrayal of this country by Boris Johnson and Tony Blair and every single other Conservative Prime Minister and Labour, with the two Labour Prime Ministers that bookended those. So we'll keep it going. When are you going to come and see us in Grand Rapids? That's a good question. I really do. Well,
good old Tracy, parishioner of mine.
Basically, I spend every Friday in court, because they postponed today's court, I neglected to announce that they postponed today's court because I was hoping it was raining and the paparazzos could just get rained on and find that and not turned up. So instead I get a double bubble treat of cork on a Thursday and a Friday in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be all the joy. How is crowdfunding going? That should be right. Is there any question, Lorenzo? What does this painting represent? I can't show you the painting, but it's the Last Supper. Who are the Jesuits? Can you both have a roundabout blunt knives? Idiocy.
What?
When are we taking our country back? When are we taking our country back? I've got a feeling we'll be
Sean.
Sean. I think it'll get to a point. My view of what will happen is the sectarian difficulties that we've imported, especially between people like, the Sikhs and the Muslims and the Indians and the Pakistanis and these sorts of things. Those conflicts will break out well before the conflicts between British people. But I was speaking to someone, I think I said this to Larry the other day. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's a priest, and his son was walking through a park in Leicester, got into an altercation with a group of Muslim kids, and they said, I hate this country. It's a horrible, you people treat us like blah, blah, And it was like, I thought to myself, this is the problem of what happens if you treat people like they're victims. They behave like victims. Yeah. That's why you don't treat people like victims.
If you hate the country, why are you living in it? That's the question I want to know.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think we're taking our country back. The only person who's going to help take the country back is going to be Tommy, really, because he's the only person who's willing to put his actual life on the line for it. So, I'll wait for everyone to finally get around to the idea that it was not wrong.
The Christian dollar said Marmite or marmalade.
Marmite or marmalade? Bovril. Come on.
Bovril. You never put Bovril on toast, though, do you?
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
I put it on crumpets, in the morning.
Oh, that's crazy.
I do.
I prefer marmalade. Easy answer for me. I've never liked Marmite. I don't understand the idea of a yeast spread.
Oh, shush now. When are you getting Tommy on? Well, we've had Tommy on. You can have a look. I interviewed Tommy for about 2 hours. And it was and Calvin as well. It was very interesting and useful.
Yes.
Because I then showed it to my funder, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize he was such a normal guy with really sentient points to make about stuff." It was kind of bonkers. So
it's good removing the blinkers from people's eyes, isn't it?
It really is. It's really important.
Deborah O'Brien said, "What's the story behind your new throat tattoo?"
The story behind my new throat tattoo is I saw a girl walking down the street in Barcelona with a cross throat tattoo, and I thought, wow, that's really good. And so I went with it. I also think that I think it's good that people know where you're coming from. I don't want to. I sort of don't enjoy the awkward conversations with someone when they sound really sound, and then you end up going, do you have a faith, or do you do this? And they're like, no, not at all. And you're like, oh, how come you're so sound? So I want people to know where I come from and what my position is. And I want to, and also it saves me from wearing my rosary around my neck, which, Catholics get upset about.
Let them get upset.
I know.
If you want to wear your rosary, you can wear your rosary.
A bit late now.
I'm wearing my pectoral this was from Canon Phil Harris, bless him. It's, Anglicans and Old Catholics have a tradition of wearing pectorals, but Roman Catholics don't. Only their bishops wear pectorals. But this is what he gave me before I left the country. The day before I left, or very soon before I left, we were at one of those rallies. On that note, will Pope Leo XIV be a positive influence for biblical Christianity, says Angela Woodsmith.
That's for you.
I am cautiously optimistic about this new
Whoa, Calvin's cautiously optimistic.
I think he's going to be similar to John Paul II, Saint John Paul II. I think he's going to be, he's not going to be anywhere near as sound as people like me and my traditionalist friends would have liked him to be, but he's certainly not going to be anywhere near as progressive as the Francis lot would have liked him to have been. I think he's already shown that, he's singing the Regina Coeli, for goodness sake, and saying the Latin Mass again, which is the official language of the church. Is a good thing, and people are Googling for the first time how to become Catholic. Is the signs are already good. So
he seems to be non-political as well. So the things that he seems to be talking about are simple basics.
But he's just bought from Chicago. Like, he's literally from down the road. It's hilarious.
I know. It's I'm with you. I'm cautiously optimistic that he might be all right, actually. Not that I've really followed papal stuff particularly, because I just don't. But he's from what I've seen and what he said. And you also know, because the media tried to destroy him before straight away, didn't they? They tried to say, oh, yeah, he's really dodgy. So immediately then, you know, someone's probably sound. And the minute the media tell me someone's dodgy, I'm like, oh, yeah, they sound good to me.
Yeah.
Simon Lutman, Starmer's destroying the UK, but if we wait 4 more years, it may be too late. Labour screamed for a general election after Boris looked at a cake. So should we respect the democratic process, let the peasants revolt, wait for a military coup, or watch a mutiny on the buses? I'm always very, very surprised that people haven't kicked off yet. But, you know, that's just me. I'm like, 4 more years of this, do your worst. Labour will not be in power for well over another generation, I would say. You know, a long, long, long time Labour are going to be out of power. And it's what they did in America with Trump. Trump knows that it's not about Trump's second term. It's about the 8 years or 12 years that proceed. Is that the right word? Whatever the word for after is. Because they know it succeed him, because they're going to, because it takes a generation to get rid of this rot that's been allowed to infect and infest our society. So, you know, at least Labour will be gone. Starmer has the lowest popularity rating of any post-war prime minister. We have the highest tax burden in 70 years. Our public services don't work. Nothing works in this country. And they're going to raise taxes again in the autumn statement. So they're toast. You know, and all the things he's taking credit for, with his weird language that he adopts. He's such a strange man. I get it. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. All of it's just stuff that James Cleverly kind of did, you know, and they're just taking credit for the stuff the Conservatives did, and then blaming the Conservatives for stuff that they didn't do. But they're equally as bad as each other, I would say. So I would love a peasants' revolt. It would be great. But, you know, at the end of the day, we tend to leave those sorts of things to the left.
Or the French.
The French. They're the ones that like chopping people's heads off and having revolutions. So we'll just sort of stick with it and see what happens. But Starmer's gone. Starmerism, or whatever they call it, is gone. Rachel Reeves is gone. The lies are going to continue, because that's what politicians do. But Labour are gone after 4 years, and they can do what they can do. But, you know, net zero's gone, trans is gone, woke is dying, Doctor Who has been cancelled, the ever vaunted, you know, non-binary Doctor Who. I turned it on.
Black non-binary Doctor Who, and gay, I think. Black, gay, non-binary Doctor Who.
I turned it on by mistake, and I thought, mate, do you realise they're filming you with HD cameras? I've never seen a man in so much makeup on TV in my life. So yeah, Doctor Who's gone. Russell T Davies and his pathetic, you know.
It's a shame. It used to be a good show.
It was a good show when I was a kid. I remember being scared of it, but and I never watched it when my former wife was.
I was going to say I can't watch it anymore because your former wife is in it. But
yeah, and also David Tennant. I mean, what
a piece of work.
Shambles of a human being. That
I did like Matt Smith. I thought he was good.
Yeah, I didn't see him either. It's not. I don't really watch. I sort of the minute I turn on the TV. Like the adverts in the, if I'm watching mainstream TV, which is very rare, and the adverts come on, I'm like, wow.
It's the BBC though, isn't it? They don't have.
I live in a different world. The Gary Lineker. How do we feel about that? How do we feel about St. Gary? He's finally pushed. He finally can't get enough people to stand up for him and threaten to quit.
Yeah, because he's got all anti-Semite publicly. You can't do that. That's crazy. Even at the BBC, which is full of anti-Semites. It's insane.
Anti-Semites and pedos.
That is true. Why is the BBC so full of anti-Semitic pedophiles?
Well, I think if you are a pedophile, or if if you have a serious deviancy, the first thing you do is try and find company. That's, like misery loves company, and so is pedos. So, and institutions. Yeah, and it's very difficult to get fired from the BBC. Very difficult to get fired from the BBC. And, the BBC, I think the BBC is, it's some people I work with say to me, but it's really actually really good value, all of that. You get so many different stations and stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not good value. Get rid of it. It's got to go. Yeah. We've been saying this for years as well. It's another thing we've been saying.
If it's good value, open it up to the free market. If people want to buy into it, they will buy into it. If they don't, it will die.
Yeah, I don't think a reform government is going to say keep the license fee, but
I can't see a reform government happening, honestly. I think Labour are going to be in for another cycle, despite what people think. The only thing that will topple Labour is the Islamic Caliphate.
Well, there will be an Islamic Party. I follow all of the. I'm signed up to the mailing list of all of the beginning Muslim parties and all of the Muslim Islamic stuff, political stuff in the UK, and I read their stuff, and they're all sounding very, very confident. New Mayor of Rotherham, she's representing the people of Pakistan, which is good, because why would you represent the people of Rotherham when you can represent the people of Pakistan? I'm becoming even more extremist. Did you see that? I think he's a DUP guy, was standing up and talking about Hamas, and behind him were two, I think they're independent MPs, and they were just telling him to shut up. And it's like, he's just highlighting what people did in the name of your Sky Wizard. So, calm down, dear.
Calm down, dear. Not to get myself even more cancelled, but I think I'm becoming misogynist, Laurence.
Why? What happened?
Driving.
Yes.
So for viewers, I've only been driving for 2 months, but 10 times out of 10, I can tell you if it's a woman driver.
Not with it.
And I'm like, am I sexist, or is this a woman driver? And you drive past it, oh, here's a woman driver. Every single time. Like, there's no spatial awareness. And so there's a massive gap in front of them, right? And they're sat there like this, not moving. And you're going 10 miles below the speed limit, love. You can, oh yeah, that was a woman driver. Or they're aggressive and they don't let you in. That was a woman driver.
Yeah.
Why are women either slower or more aggressive? Like, it's one extreme or the other.
It's competition, isn't it? It's lack of identity, lack of a sense of what the identity is which is what Pope Leo was talking about, which was about the family,
But I'm not saying all men are good drivers. I'm not saying all women are bad drivers, but you can always tell when it's a woman driver. It's weird.
Yeah, I try and, well, obviously we live in the middle of nowhere, so I don't come across that many drivers, but I do sometimes get dropped off at the station by Lizzie, and she drives like a, especially she has a slightly different style of driving in my big truck, and I wouldn't want to encounter her on her.
Right, I bet she's an aggressive driver.
It's not that she's aggressive. She's just like, I've got to get where I've got to get.
But does she let people in at roundabouts and such?
Oh yeah, no, she's very kind. Okay. Yeah, she ran over she ran over a squirrel once and stopped and prayed for it.
I must say, it's probably the time when I'm the least Christian, when I'm behind the wheel. The road rage. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, there's been lots of science done about that, but misogyny is about driving is fine.
I'm not a misogynist.
Oh, well, I've got one to
I'm just noticing patterns, is what I'm saying.
Can you confirm that there isn't a 7% cut being taken out of the Lucy Connolly funds? It says that on the T's and C's there are. Can you give a full transparency as to where the funds are going? Really right wing, who loves to comment on everything I say. Hello, really right wing, who I explained this to already in a post, only because it's so egregious what Keir Starmer is doing. We are waiving our fee, but I know that you probably don't have a job, really right wing, but what you'll understand is that businesses need staff. Our crowdfunding platform, Democracy 3.0, is the cheapest crowdfunding platform out there. So we waived Lucy Connolly's fee, and I did that regressively, actually, because I thought, what about all the other people that have got crowdfunders on there? Why am I not waiving their fee? And we had last week, we were getting 2,500 emails a day to do with Lucy Connolly. I've got to pay someone to answer those. So the answer is yes, we did waive the fee, and the second part of the answer is any business has costs and overheads. And you may or may not have noticed, really right wing, that if I wanted to be rich and wanted to make a lot of money, I would have kept my mouth shut and stayed acting, where I'd now be talking woke rubbish on a film set somewhere and being paid 25 to 50,000 pounds a week, which was what my life was before I decided to tell the truth. So thanks for your question. I hope that's a really good answer.
It's projection, though. I see this a lot. There's the people that aren't doing anything to contribute.
The next question says, why is your company skimming off 10% of the crowd when you set up? What do these people...
It's people that aren't contributing to the decay in our society. Like, they're not fighting against the decay, and they're almost not envious, but they hate you for doing it because it shows them up for not doing it. That's what it is. I get this a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I made more money in education than I do in what I'm doing now. And I get, oh, you do this because you want to make it. Like, no, I do this because I care about what I'm doing. And if you cared, you'd be doing it too. Care more.
They're so funny, these people.
No, they're lame.
I don't really read replies. Well, obviously we have to read replies to do this, but I don't often read replies.
Honestly, just block the trolls. Block them all.
I can't be bothered. I can't like the idea of them screaming into to the air and not knowing.
No,
what have you got? Where are we now? Friday. What have you got for the rest of the week?
It's St. Padre Pio's birthday tomorrow, so I'm going to a celebration for that, which will be lovely on the other side of the state. I've got Mass on Sunday, 10 a.m., St. Paul's Church of Grand Rapids. That's about it. I'm hoping the sun comes back out. You know, that day that I got cancelled the second time in the week.
Yeah.
I just drove down to Ottawa Beach. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was like 81 degrees and sandy beach, lovely. Like, everyone was out there. I just had my fold-up chair, my prayer book, and just chilled out for a few hours. It's wonderful. So I'm hoping the sun comes back out so I can get back down to the beach.
Yeah, we're about to have a storm. I'm going to set up the badminton and play badminton with the kids, who seem to have developed an extreme competitive edge for the badminton. And then it's my birthday on Monday.
What are you doing for your birthday on the bank holiday Monday?
I don't know. Lizzie has said something along the lines of, I need to have an early lunch or a late breakfast because she's taking me somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to try and get back. I've been doing a bit of music, and I'm going to try and get back to doing some more writing, but my brain's very full. So, you know, as people can probably tell. So I'm just trying to get through, really. And that's kind of me. But yeah, I'm just going to do that. I'll be 47 years old. How old do I look?
About 40.
I don't look 47, that's for sure. I'm very honest about. I remember one guy interviewed me, and he said that I had suspiciously blonde hair. So his first line of the interview, was, "Who dyes his hair?" And I'm like, if I dyed my hair, I'd tell you I dyed my hair.
These people, they're tiresome, aren't they?
They're strange. Anyway, there it is. I've got another lawyer conversation to do today.
Oh, please.
It's the joys of that.
We'll have fun.
Remember to buy gold. Here is gold.
Apparently, this company, Gold Bullion Partners, and a few of our listeners have decided that while being faced with the tyranny of potential digital IDs and CBDCs and where they can keep their money safely without it being removed from the government, they've come up with the idea of gold. Well, this is actually silver.
Well, I've got some gold.
I've got some gold too. My gold's a little one.
So the problem is your money isn't yours if it's in the bank, and you can't rely on it. You can't trust the banks. So we've got to invest in assets.
No capital gains tax.
That's interesting.
No capital gains tax.
I've got a lot of friends who are buying gold and silver, actually.
Yeah. Non-traceable. I'm buying silver because gold's a bit up there for me at the moment. I could probably get one of these. But this is legal tender.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could.
I wouldn't want to spend it, though.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, a lot of places aren't accepting legal tender anymore. That's part of the problem. That the more we go to a cashless society, the more the government can control everything that we do. They can see every penny we spend. They can control where we spend it. That's not a good thing.
But gold and silver are holding their values beautifully in the world. And in times of trouble, people tend to lean and go towards gold and silver. So, Gold Bullion Partners, guys, the link will be in the show notes. And if you so feel that you want to
absolutely do your own research, look into it.
Yeah. And we will carry on buying it ourselves, won't we?
Yeah, we will.
Buy gold and go to Calvin's crowdfunder, help him out getting his deposit together for the house, and I will have more news for everybody next week. And we're getting closer to the wedding. And are you gonna do the full Skiathos mission?
I need to think about it.
Okay. Well, I've got all that sorted, and I can't wait to be there, and I can't wait to be out of this oppressive shithole country. If I'm honest, I just, whenever I leave it, I feel like a weight is taken off.
Yeah.
And it manifested itself years ago. But I mean, you always, like, at the end of a summer holiday or the end of something, you used to kind of go, yeah, well, I've had an amazing time. I'm kind of looking forward to coming home now. That kind of vanished 4 or 5, 6 years ago. And now not only do I not like coming home, not look forward to coming back and seeing, I love the dogs, and I'm doing a lot of gardening, so I like looking at how my garden's coming along. But it's now I just dread coming back to England, and I don't even feel that this is where I belong. And I think you had that feeling, but I certainly have that feeling. I don't feel that the landmass that I'm currently existing on and living on, I don't feel I belong to it at all. I feel that it's like an airport hotel somewhere.
Yeah, I get that. You need to come out here for a bit.
I will. Well, hopefully post-wedding things will there's lots of organising for weddings, so it's very thoughtful of the Wokies to try and ruin our lives. But it is funny. Lizzie and I talk about this quite often. It's like we're so blessed, and nothing they can do is going to take that away from us. They may hurt you in the short term, but they're never going to destroy you. And that's the way you got to roll.
Count your blessings.
Damn right, brother. Anyway, give us a pray.
All right, let's have a prayer. Let's pray for a united church, because I saw this picture of the Pope with the patriarch the other day, and I thought, this is fantastic. We could actually have a united church in our lifetimes. O God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, and our only Saviour, the Prince of Peace, give us grace seriously to lay to heart the great dangers we are in by our unhappy divisions. Take away all hatred and prejudice, and whatsoever else may hinder us from godly union and concord, that as there is but one body and one Spirit, and one hope of our calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all, so we may be all of one heart and of one soul, united in one holy bond of truth, of peace, of faith, and charity, and may with one mind people glorify Thee, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Grazie mille, Padre. And I will speak to you in the week, and I send you a lot of love, and I can't wait to see you.
You too.
Not long now.
Bless you. And thank you all for watching.
Brother. Thank you. Lots of love.